Well, the biggest thing, most people always ask me, can I use Microsoft Word to do this? Because that's what's on their machine. And I always have to say no. What we want to do is we want to avoid using word processors, and especially when we're hand coding HTML. What happens is these word processors insert hidden and invisible code into our files, which are not part of HTML. And when that happens, then we have some issues because some things will not translate correctly to a browser. So when you start using Microsoft Word, Open Office, Word Perfect, and when you start working and you want to go in and make things bold, most people highlight the text and make it bold by clicking on the bold button or something like that, or click on U for underline. But the problem is it's putting its own code in. What we want to do is we want to actually go in and put the code in ourselves, and that's where a text editor comes into play. It doesn't go in and add any fancy text. It doesn't go in and add any special colors and things like that that's going to affect how my page is going to look. So there's a variety of different text editors out there, and since I'm on a PC right now, I have two of them open, and one of them is Notepad++, and the other one is Notepad. Notepad comes with your Windows computer, and it's alright to start working with that. If you just go down to Start, click on the Start button, and you go into Program Files, it should be in the Accessories section, and it's a simple text editor that you can work with. I might suggest that you download Notepad++. It's a free download, and it is like a text editor, but it adds some little extra things too. When you start typing your code, it color codes things, and if those color codes are not correct, it'll automatically, you can say, hey, this is wrong. So notice how my elements over here are in blue, but in Notepad over here, it is not on the right side. Notepad++ is on the left, Notepad is on the right. Now, if you're using a Mac, TextEdit is the default text editor that comes on the Macintosh, but I also just suggest downloading Text Wrangler because it does give you a little more options to work with this. But this is the best way to learn your elements, your coding with HTML, is to use a text editor because you're forced to type it in. Now what I have here on both pages, they're both the same, but I want to go in and just show you a couple things here working with this. The basic structure of any website, what you're going to have here is you're going to always have your doc type declaration at the very top, and when we go in, this just helps the browser to interpret what type of code you're using. There's different versions of HTML. So right now the doc type HTML up there is considered HTML5, and that's all you need. Right after that comes the HTML tag. Okay, and again, this is a given structure. So you're always going to have the same structure on every page. Now, what you'll not notice is duplicates of the elements. This main structure here, you're not going to have two HTML tags. You're not going to have two head tags. You're not going to have two body elements in that. Never going in. So what you're going to do is you're going to get the structure set up first, and then you can go in and add information afterwards. So notice the HTML tag tells the browser that this page is HTML. Now at the top we have what we call the head section, and things that go in the head section are things behind the scenes. Do not get confused. This is not a header. This is not going to appear on the top of every page. This has nothing to do with page content. This is behind the scenes. These are things like we have here is the title tag. This is where you can put an internal style sheet. This is where you can add a meta tag that basically has the search engines look at keywords. So these are things behind the scenes. And right after the HTML tag you have the head tag, and then between the head tag you might have the title tag, or you might even have a style. Now notice, as I'm just going to go ahead and put in a closing style tag here, nothing's in between, but it goes right there in the head section. Now in between that you might have styles that apply to certain elements, such as you might want to go in and increase the font size of your H1 element. And then of course notice that almost every element has a closing element. So here we have a closing style tag and a closing head tag. Right after the closing head tag, we have our body tag. And then right here in between our body is all the content of our web page is going to go in our body. It doesn't go up in the head, it doesn't go anywhere else, it goes right in the body section. So if you go in and place something up here in the top in the head section and you think it's going to appear on your page, it might look that way on a browser, but on some browsers it might not notice it. It'll skip right past it. So what you have to do is make sure all the content on your page is found in the body section. Okay, and this is where you would edit it. And then of course you have your closing body element, and then after that you have your closing HTML. That's always the last thing. It tells the page we're done. So you're not going to have anything after the closing HTML tag. It's always going to be there. So once we get this saved, I'm going to go up to do it in Notepad++. I'm going to do a file save as. Then what's going to happen here is that with Notepad++, there's an option down here in the list called Hypertext Markup Language. And all you have to do is click on that, and it's going to add the .html extension. And you give it a name, you make sure you save it in the folder that you want, and you click on Save. I'm going to replace what's there since it's already been saved on that. Now with your Notepad, a little bit different. So I have to do a file save as, and then I have to indicate the folder I want to save it in. But the thing about what this is going to do, I'm going to have to change the save as type to all files, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to keep it in the same folder here, but I got to put the .html extension. I have to put actual period followed by HTML. Then that will automatically save it as HTML. So this save as type does not have that option to save as a web page. Notice Notepad++ did, so it makes your life a little bit easier. So I'm going to click on Save here, and now I could, if I wanted to, I can open it up in my in the browser. So here, if I wanted to, then here's the beauty of Notepad++ and other programs like Text Wrangler for the Mac. I can actually open up this page right into the browser if I want to, and all I need to do is go up to Run and choose Launch in Firefox. Now I'm going to bring this page over, and here it is. Now what will happen is I have some other tabs up here, but notice the tab here when I bring my mouse over it says My New Web Page. Where's that coming from? The title tag. So that tells me, indicates the name of the page. Can't format the title, so if you try to format with an H1 or anything like that, it will not work. Will not work. So if you don't do that, if you don't use Notepad++, you have to go to the folder and double click on it on the page that you saved to open it up in the browser. So Notepad does not have that option where you can open it up into a browser. That's where Notepad++ comes into play. It's a really nice little program. Another feature with Notepad++ as you start working with this, when I start, if I make a mistake, and I'm supposed to be typing an element in, notice how this 1H is all black. Well, that doesn't recognize that element. So what I want to do is I want to change that to H1, and notice it goes to blue. So that helps me to color code to figure out what's going on. Another benefit of Notepad++ is that it aligns, it puts the numbers out here for the line number, so that way you can say, hey, look at line 6, is that correct? It makes it easier to find. So that's where that color coding comes into play on that part. So hopefully, again, this gives you the basic start of this, of working with HTML. And just remember, why do we use a text editor to learn HTML? Because we don't want to use a word processor, so it adds all the extra characters, extra formatting, and has an effect on our web page. So what we're doing is we're making sure that what we see is what we're going to get. Because if you don't, you know what's going to happen. You might open up your web page and you look and say, well, where's this coming from? Why is this not formatting correctly? And the other thing is that it'll help make your pages download faster. So, you know, just going right into the code to edit. Now, a lot of times you'll use a program called Dreamweaver or some other web page design, but you'll find that you'll have to go into the code to edit it, and that's the most important part.